22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.
And are not afraid to say it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are tuned into Black Westchester Presents, the People Before Politics radio show, episode 351. I am AJ Woodson. I got my partner in crime, Damon K. Jones. Say what's up to the people. I'm not hearing you. We're not hearing you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
There you go. There you go. We can hear you now. We can hear you now.
There you go.
Yes. We have.
There we go. Black Westchester Radio, People Before Politics show.
We have a special edition of the show. It's one of those times for some real talk. We've been giving you real talk for the community since 2014. Today's conversation is a courageous conversation on the Manhattan Mural controversy. Most of you by now have seen somewhere on the news or on Facebook, there is a mural on Manhattan Avenue in the Fairfield section of Greenburgh. There has been some controversy over the addition of Farrakhan on the mural. There have been a lot of things said, which in my research, there's been a lot of misinformation being put out there. And we decided to do this show today to hopefully get to the truth, and hopefully after a nice conversation, we can come to some kind of equitable solution, if that is all possible. Before we get started, Damon, do you have any words to add before we start adding?
I think you said it correctly. I think we have to, from what we have discussed and what we have heard, I think we need to get down to, I guess, the proper understanding of what happened, and hopefully we come to a happy medium how to move forward. And we have to also straighten out a couple incorrect history telling. So everybody involved in the people of Westchester County, not just Greenburgh, but the people of Westchester County can understand what's happening and how do we move forward, and I think it's more important for Black people, right? Because this is an issue of who our leaders are, and understanding why leaders are important on both sides, and being sensitive to everybody's struggle, but also being sensitive and understanding of the Black struggle here in America. So, let's get to it.
So I want a couple of things real quick. So and this is bigger than the mural at this point. This is bigger than Farrakhan, but this is, the town of Greenburgh put the boldest statement up as far as Black Lives Matter in the form of a sign. It said all lives cannot matter until Black Lives Matter. No other municipality has ever written anything like that. Everybody's quoting Black Lives Matter. Some people are painting it on the street, but not even here in Mount Vernon, in the blackest city, in Westchester. And you have to excuse me if you hear people going by. So anyway, and motorcycles. But it was one of the boldest statements. Then the sign was ripped down. The mural, some cities made painting on the street the words Black Lives Matter, but this mural was also one of the boldest depiction of the celebration of Black history, Black protests, the struggle, et cetera, et cetera. And it should be a celebration, and it has turned into a controversy. And one of the reasons we decided to do the show is because we feel like it's only going to get worse and worse, and we decided to see if we could, do something about that. I do have some housekeeping rules. I'm going to pull that up. I would like to give everybody a chance to speak. I want everyone to come to. Oh, here it goes. If you're stating anything that is a fact, please be prepared to back that up. There have been a lot of things that have been stated as fact that have not been facts. I want to give everyone a chance to be heard. I respect that everyone come to hear what everyone has to say and be respectful even with those we don't agree with. We want to create a safe environment where opposing views can be heard and shared. But I don't want to just give everybody a chance to be heard. I want everyone to come here to hear. Because without that part, none of this that we're doing makes any difference. Anything else? Again, everybody wants to be heard. Oh, if anyone tries to talk over or interrupt someone who has the floor, you will be muted. If anybody is overly disrespectful, you will be muted. And if necessary, you will be removed from the conversation. We want to create, like, again, a safe space. We want to have, now the conversation can get heated, but we want to keep it respectful. We want to attack the issue and not necessarily persons. That's what I wanted to say about it. Everybody knows we have two co-hosts. Lane Cobb, she doesn't have her camera on, so I can't put her on. And Dr. Bob will be joining us at some point. When I sent out this invitation, Town Supervisor Paul Feiner said he could not make it. I saw him leave comments on Facebook, so I challenged him a few times. And he has agreed to be on the show, but has a family obligation and said he can only be on for a short period of time. So I'm starting the show off with Paul Feiner, Congressman. Okay, Dr. Bob is here. Welcome, Dr. Bob.
DJ Damon, how y'all tonight?
Great. And our other co-host, Lane Cobb. Those that will be co-hosting for us from Race Talk Revolution. I'm starting the show off with Paul Feiner, Ken Jones, Congressman Ken Jones, Congresswoman Gina Jackson, and
Woodson? You mean city council person?
What did I say? Congressperson?
Yeah, you did. You gave him a promotion.
Oh, I gave everybody a promotion. Okay. Town council people, town council members, Gina Jackson and Ken Jones. I don't know, maybe that's a preview to some future endeavor they may have or something. But I'm going to bring them in first. Oops, who did I just put out? Paul Feiner. I think I hit Lane. Lane is in. Gina Jackson. Ken Jones. Okay, and I have my two co-hosts, right? Okay. And the artist Kindo Slice. I'm starting with these people because this is where it started, and this is where I've heard from everybody involved. I don't know if any of these individuals are speaking to each other, and I would like to start here. So, Paul Fine, I will start with you because you have the least amount of time. I do appreciate you making time. You have made several statements. You have said that one in your statement when I asked you for a quote, you said you were glad that the town board unanimously voted to remove the mural, and that was your wording in the email and to me exactly when I asked you. In my research, I found out that there is no recorded vote from the town board to remove Farrakhan. So that's one of the things I would like to debunk because you said that in the statement to me, and at least on one news, I don't know if it's News 12 or ABC, you said it to one of them too. So, Mr. Finer.
Great. Well, let me just start by thanking you for inviting me. I have a family. My wife and her cousin came from Florida, so I told her I'd be late. But I just wanted to start by saying that the African American community, the Jewish, be bonded because both ethnicities have been excluded from mainstream American society. We both experienced discrimination and danger in the early 20th century. There were restrictive covenants, private contracts limiting home sales or rentals to African American Jews.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. I'm only going to interrupt you because for the lack of time,
experienced pogroms, attacks on Jews in Russia.
I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you because I want to deal with issues at the time. It sounds like your audio is going in and out, but where did you get the fact that
I just want to know how I am.
There's a delay. Okay. Can everyone hear me? Let's start there. Can everyone, yes, no? Can you hear me? Damon?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Damon, give me a sound check. Just say something. Wait. I'm just
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. I'm on mute. I muted myself.
Okay. Bob, give me a sound check real quick. We're having an audio problem with somebody.
Yes.
Okay. Brother Jones, Ken Jones, can you give me just say a word or two? I need a sound check real quick.
Yes. Greetings, Damon and AJ.
Okay, good. Lane Cobb, can you give me a sound check real quick?
Yes, I think I'm on delay, however.
Okay, cool. Kindo, can you take your mic off mute and just give me a sound check real quick? Cool.
Peace, everyone. Greetings.
Okay, Mr. Finer, I think the audio problem is yours. What I want to answer the first question. We want to get to the facts, and we want to eliminate all of the things that aren't true that were said. So you said that the town board unanimously voted to remove the book, and I'm finding out that's not true, and I want to give you a chance to speak to that. Mr. Finer.
Okay, well, basically, and there was an agreement. Past 2 years, tirelessly, Earl, seen. Committee was Watkins, was you.
Okay. We're having a problem with your audio. We're having a problem with the town supervisor's audio right now. I don't have any other way.
The agreement this mural. And
Brother Woodson, I'd like to encourage you to.
you want me?
Can't hear at all.
Mr. Finer, can you sign out and click back on the link again?
Let me see if I could hold on for a second.
We cannot hear you. Okay. I will hopefully he'll sign back in. But I would like to move back to Gina and Ken. I understand that there was not a board vote, and that was one of the things that I wanted to address because both that there was saying that he said in statements that the board unanimously voted to remove the Farrakhan from the mural, and I'm finding out there was no recorded vote. So I would like to give you a chance to speak to that.
That's correct. The town board did not vote because the town board has not met since this became a controversy. However, the mural subcommittee that Cliff is the putative head of did in fact vote to remove the image of Louis Farrakhan.
Okay. And so, Gina, again, you did not vote because I know you also were getting calls because of that with people saying, why did you vote on that? That was the
Correct.
first thing I wanted to address. There was no vote.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Secondly, I don't know if we can get Paul back on. I think he's having a problem. Let's see if we can have a.
I'm back on.
Okay. Can speak real quick? So hopefully we can hear you.
Yeah, could you hear me?
I hear you a whole lot better now
Okay,
than we
yeah,
could
I'm using
before.
my iPhone instead. Yeah,
Okay.
so basically we all felt that we reached an agreement with the artist. We saw
Okay, the question was about the vote. The first question is about the vote. You said in a statement that the town board you were glad that the town board unanimously voted to remove Farrakhan from the mural. And then
it
you
was
said
done through emails, I believe, and Ken or Gina could confirm that.
the town board can take a vote for it.
It wasn't a vote. We basically felt that there was a breach of the agreement because we were shown illustrations, and we all liked, most of the mural, but the Farrakhan image is, was not something that anybody had agreed to.
So we've established one thing. There was no vote from the town board to remove the mural. So when you sent out an email to the artists and Cliff and everybody that the mural, that the image must come down by the end of the week or whatever, next week or whatever, that was from you.
It was after consulting everyone on the town board. Everyone on the town board is in agreement. Because we had many email exchanges, and everybody basically agreed that this agreement, that we had an agreement, and the artist did not, comply with what he showed us.
I want to move to the next question. The second question I have, there was a check issued to the artist, I believe, on August 12th. The person who brought the check to the artist, and the artist, you can shake your head yes or no if I'm misquoting anything, saw the work that was there, including Farrakhan, painted in, and told the artist, good job, and then gave him the second portion of the payment, which I think was $10,000. Is that correct, Kindo? Did I say that right? So where I'm lost is from that point when the artist was paid and was told good job to the point that now Farrakhan has to be removed.
I was not aware of the Farrakhan image until people started calling me, expressing concern about it. I think the artwork is great. I think the artist is an outstanding artist. It's very, very colorful. Most of the mural I have no objections to. I personally find Farrakhan's image very offensive as a Jew. There's a lot of very, very hurtful comments that he made about Jews and I'm Jewish. I don't appreciate it when he calls Jews Satan, compares us to termites, blames sexual perversion on Jewish influence, called Hitler a great man, blamed Jews for the 9/11 attacks.
That is.
I don't appreciate that, and I'm very offended by it.
I'm glad you brought up the great man part. So I did a lot of research on that. Farrakhan was. I don't know how he was in an interview or something. I don't know how Hitler's name came up. He was talking about how Hitler built Germany up. And he said if he hadn't done the things he did to build it up was not great, it was wicked. And he said Hitler was wickedly great. In 1984, the New York Times then wrote an article with the headline, Farrakhan called Hitler a great man. I've seen interviews with Farrakhan years ago that he said he never said those words. Calling someone wickedly great is not a compliment. So I just what we're trying to do is we're trying to diminish all the hearsay, the rumors, things that are not true. So that I found out not to be true.
Well, there's people who disagree. I'm just looking. There was an article in Newsweek. It says, as far back as 1984, Farrakhan praised Adolf Hitler and said he was proud of what the leader of the Nazi
Mr.
Party
Feiner,
did to the Jews. That's in Newsweek.
I'm gonna let Damon take over.
Mr. Feiner, that has been a lie on Minister Farrakhan. I saw the speech myself. I'm going to repeat that again. I saw the speech myself. He said Hitler was a wickedly great man.
Well, he said Hitler was wickedly great was the exact quote. Not a wickedly great man. It was wickedly great.
He never said he was a great man. And also he addressed that on the Donahue show. And he corrected that on the Donahue show also.
And there was like 3 Jewish scholars there.
Exactly. So,
that he did say, I'm just Googling Hitler.
No, you could Google. You could Google. There's a difference between Googling people's opinions and articles that are wrote and then actually watching the man speak.
Well, let me just say this. Many things that he said on YouTube and the Anti-Defamation League, and the Southern Poverty Law Center has condemned Minister Farrakhan for some of his hateful, comments. And all you have to do is you can watch on YouTube his exact words, because he did compare Jews to Satan. He did compare us to.
No.
All you have to do is watch it.
But let's address that though. Let's address that. We're going to get to everything else, but since he has so little time, we want to address these things because some of these are false statements. So I want to present. Wait. I want to present. So one of the things you also said in your statement that you had a problem that Farrakhan said was that he said that Jewish people were involved in the slave trade. That is historically true. Not only were Jewish people involved in the slave trade, there were Jewish slave owners. So for any Black person to feel that a group of people who owned African American slaves is evil and compared them to anybody that's evil, that would be understandable.
Well, it's also true that in the earliest 20th century, Jews helped start the civil rights movement. The NAACP was formed in 1909.
That's great.
Two things can be true, but I want to, you have to understand, so here's an example, and this is not going to be a popular example. This is me speaking specifically. The actions of the Holocaust are very horrific. And it was a very horrific act that happened on another land. America has not dealt with 2 of the original sins, one to the indigenous people and to African American, that happened on this land. And some of it was by Jewish people. Black people are often, when we bring up slavery, are told, well, you'll need to get over it. Y'all still talking about that? But when they talk about the Holocaust, it's like, never forget. And And wait, we memorialize and have monuments and all these things and money spent on talking about the Holocaust, but we do not address. So when Black people speak, periodly, I'm not speaking for all Black people. I am not the voice for every Black person. There are Black people on the screen who may not agree with me, but you have to understand, for hundreds of years, we haven't got this country to acknowledge what was done to Black people in this country by this country.
And I feel that we should acknowledge what happened. And if there were Jews or anyone who were slave owners, that's something that should be condemned. But I also feel that the purpose of this mural was, in my opinion, was to highlight our support of the Black Lives Movement, which the town board supported. Our effort, this is part of a continuing effort by the town to improve diversity, to address systemic racism, all forms of systemic racism, to address the lack of affordable housing. We need to bring people together.
I want to stay on topic. Because you have so little time.
Let me just say one thing, and then
I want to stay on topic. And before you have to go, I also have a Black Jewish rabbi who disagrees with what you're saying.
That's fine, but because
no.
Jews are not, just because you're Jewish doesn't mean you agree with each other. I disagree with a lot of Jewish people, and they disagree with me. The Jewish community is a diverse community, and people have individual feelings. But the only thing I was going to say, before I have to leave, is that there's a lot of images on the wall that are fantastic. I really love the fact that we're highlighting what happened to the African American community, but I also think that what's really important, and one of the reasons I supported the mural, is I want to bring people together. And it doesn't have to be, and to me, if the Farrakhan image is something that is very, very offensive to a large group of Jewish people, it's creating divisiveness, it's creating anger. It's hurting race relations between the Jewish community and others. If we basically replace the image with something that we could all live with, for example, the Million Man March. If we put that on the wall instead of Farrakhan,
which Farrakhan was the keynote speaker, and he was the proprietor of the Million Man March.
First of all, I do not support having I'm speaking personally. I do not support having Farrakhan on the mural. I basically do not believe that a taxpayer-funded mural should be highlighting people who have made anti-Semitic comments, and I feel that if what our goal should be is to bring the community together.
My question for you, Mr. Feiner. My question for you.
Hold up.
I have a question.
Before you leave, I would like the rabbi to speak, to give him a chance to speak, because we want to hear from all views. And we have a Black Jewish rabbi here who has a difference of opinion than you do.
Yes. Am I on?
Yes, you are, sir.
First, I want to make it known to the director that Minister Farrakhan is a Jew. His parents were Sephardic Jews from Portugal, like me, who came to Jamaica. And I want to tell you this, regardless of what is being said about Minister Farrakhan and his words, the Sharia Israelite synagogue, which is the oldest synagogue in the Western Hemisphere, with sand on its floor, invited Minister Farrakhan to Jamaica. This is in Kingston, Jamaica. And they had peace and they forgave each other. So as a Jew, if you forgive, it's in the Torah, you must forget and move on. Minister Farrakhan is a Jew, and I don't understand why would you attack another Jew. It just so happened that Mr. Farrakhan became a Muslim, like many other Jews. Many other Jews converted. convert us. You know about that. And what I'm saying to you is that you must forgive. Now, I know Minister Farrakhan in Jamaica when that happened. And the point of the matter is that the issue that came up was a racial issue because a lot of Ashkenazi Jews do not recognize Black Jews. Look what's happening in Israel right now with the Jews that come from Ethiopia. The Orthodox Jews will not recognize them because of their race. What I'm saying to you is that we have to stop this. This is complete nonsense. And so we must forgive and forget and move on. Minister Farrakhan has a lot of influence in the Black community, and we have to accept it. He's not attacking Jews, and I don't ever see him now attacking Jews. I've been to his mosque. He never attacked me, and I'm Jewish, and I'm a rabbi.
I want to say one more thing before Mr. Finer has to go. So there's another part of your email. You said that you wanted other people to be considerate of other people's cultures. And one of the things in Black culture is where Black people have been told who we can celebrate as our heroes and who we cannot. And I think that is also part of the problem. This is a problem that has been on for a while, and that's why there's pushback when you say the things that you say. And I don't know, while you're telling others that they need to be considerate and sensitive to how Jews feel, I think a lot of people are feeling you're not being that way to Black people in America and how we feel.
Well, I obviously disagree because I think the town over the years I've done a lot to try being sensitive to the African American community. And I should mention that a couple of years ago, I asked I almost got a death threat because I wanted the Confederate monument at Mount Hope Cemetery to be removed. Two things can be true.
You could have done good things before, but in this incident here.
Well, I don't believe that. I believe that if there's any image on a taxpayer-funded mural that is offensive to any group, I feel that it should not be on a taxpayer-funded mural. I do not have any objections to anyone celebrating Farrakhan.
Do you have a problem with founding fathers being on the money and the currency that we spend, and they were slave owners?
I don't believe that slave owners should be on our currency.
But they are.
I basically I'm consistent. I believe that anything that is offensive to anybody, I don't support. I feel that with this mural, everybody could have been really proud of the mural. I was one of the first people
we have a question. I know you have to go. I'm trying to get as much. One last question for you. And this came from, what if the money is paid back to the town? What if Black people, and this is just, I want to hear your answer. What if Black people and Black organizations raised $100,000 and gave it back to the town of Greenburgh? Then we're not talking about town, and the Black community owns the mural now.
Then you would have to deal with the state. If the town taxpayers,
the state hasn't said anything.
But the state hasn't issued any statement. The only statement has come from the town of Greenburgh.
The state of New York, the State Department of Transportation contacted me last week. They contacted the Commissioner of Planning last week, and they said that they were very upset with the negative, attention.
And they put out an official statement.
The town would support the mural. If the town taxpayer dollars are not being used on the mural, I don't care, because basically, I don't want to see, from the standpoint of the town taxpayer dollars going to support somebody who made very horrible statements against the Jewish community.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. My first question when I heard this, why Minister Farrakhan and why not Malcolm X? In the 60s, what he said was to a group of people that were offended was way more offensive in the 60s when we didn't even have.
Wait. And Muhammad Ali.
And Muhammad Ali. Yes.
Let's not whitewash history.
And a friend of mine that's on the wall, KRS, who's a rapper, has also been accused of being anti-Semitic. And I'm saying, why, leaders are controversial all leaders are controversial. We just said the founding fathers were slave owners, and they did some crimes against indigenous people too. Why is there just Farrakhan? Because I can show you. It's not for me to do your work for you, but I can show you as what you would feel as offensive statements from Malcolm X.
Okay, well, let me just say that when I spoke or emailed, members of the town board, and our town attorney, the major concern was that there were approved images and Farrakhan was not on the images. I'm not sure if Malcolm X was on the approved image. If he was on an approved image before, and the artist showed us Malcolm X, he is on the sketch. Then we don't. Then the town should have caught it. But personally speaking, I feel that anyone who made any offensive comment about Jews or any other ethnicity, whether it's LGBTQ or the Asian community, I don't believe that they should be on the wall. And I think I'm
glad you brought that up. Wait, I'm glad you brought that up. Farrakhan has said he loves his LGBTQ brother and sisters, but biblically he can't stand by their lifestyle. That's the Muslim religion. That's in the Christian religion. You read you read the books, the 5 books of Moses, the Torah, in Genesis, the first book. God burned down Sodom and Gomorrah for that kind of behavior because he did not condone that. So biblically, he's saying I can't condone it, but he says he loves them. You know what I'm saying? He can't condone it from a biblical standpoint.
Yeah, I'm gonna really have to. My wife's gonna kill me if I'm much later. But again, just really appreciate it. I just hope that the community will consider finding a way where we could find an image that everybody could find acceptable, and then we could celebrate this mural, and it will be appreciated for decades to come. And then we could work together to make this community a community that highlights not our anger against each other, but the fact that we want to include everybody. We want to be an open community. We want people to love each other and care for each other.
And that's what it says that in the Torah that hate is sin, and to love the sinner.
Well, you know what? I just feel that I've gotten so many people very upset.
But that's in the Torah, though.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to have to hang up, but I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ken Jones, I want to give Ken Jones and Gina a chance to speak to. So there was no vote, and he's saying people called, and I know I talked to Gina, and she said she got called because Paul Feiner said there was a vote. People were calling you, Gina, asking you how could you vote? Why did you vote that way? I have not spoke to you, Mr. Jones. I don't have a phone number, so I haven't physically spoke to you. But I want to give y'all a chance to address. I guess what he's saying about people calling and complaining and all that stuff, and y'all going back and forth in email in agreement that it needs to come down.
Okay, so correct. Paul is correct. We did receive a lot of communication from residents with regards to the mural. What is being lost here and what has not been mentioned here, that not only that there was other images that people were questioning why was on the mural. So I just want to make sure that the focus was not just with Farrakhan. So I just want to make sure that is clear. So in addition to not only the Jewish community, we had African Americans community contacting and asking, what was the decision making on why the images that were on the mural that are currently on the mural today. So I'm not sure exactly where the vote as far as where the town board voted with regards to the removal of Farrakhan. There was a vote among the subcommittee of the mural to remove the image of Farrakhan. So we do have record for that to show that because we received an email. I personally am not on that committee, the subcommittee or the Black Lives Matter committee. So a lot of the information I am speaking of will come third party, and that's why I will defer a lot to my council person. But I just want to make sure that is clear. There was never a vote by town board to remove Farrakhan. There was concern and there was a lot of discussion with relating to the unapproved images that was on the mural. So I just need to make sure that is clear and that is on the record.
So I want to go to Councilman Jones. You are on the committee in question, right? The committee, you're part of that committee. Is
That's
that
correct.
true? Okay. So a lot of what has come out. I want you to speak to what she spoke to, but a lot of also what has come out, so that the renderings that were there were not ever said that this was like the final everything that was going to be on the wall. It was a sample of what, because now looking at the renderings, like there are some images there that they're not, the person's there, but the image is a little different than what's in that sketch. So that sketch wasn't a final thing. So is it the board's is the board saying that the artist has to get permission of every person that is added or taking away on this mural?
The contract stipulates that any changes or additions have to be approved by the Black Lives Matter Signage Committee and the town board. If I can just lay out for you a chronology of events as far as what happened. So months before we formed the Black Lives Matter Signage Committee, Cliff Abrams was up for membership in the Town of Greenburgh Human Rights Committee. It was at that time that his association with Minister Farrakhan became an issue for members of the town board. And he was denied membership of the Town Human Rights Committee because of his affiliation or association or because of the things that he said about Minister Farrakhan. Okay? Months later,
Can we since we're having an open conversation, can we be specific about what he said that may have been offensive? What he said, what was it that he said that?
I don't remember because that was offensive to the white members of the town board. I had other reasons for voting against his membership in the Human Rights Committee, which I told him at that time. So subsequent to his denial of membership in the Human Rights Committee, the Black Lives Matter Signage Committee was formed. He was a member of that committee. We were supposed to have 3 iterations of Black Lives Matter signage in the town. The signs that you mentioned earlier, the banners that went up on municipal buildings, and this mural. A subcommittee of the mural was founded, and Cliff became the putative head of that subcommittee. Everyone was aware that there was an approved image, and that there might be more space on the wall, that the approved image wouldn't fill up. And we had meetings periodically to get updates from the mural subcommittee about what was going on the mural. At no time were we told that an image of Minister Farrakhan and in fact an image of Cliff Abrams himself were added to the wall. The mural, the Black Lives Matter, the Cliff as the head of the mural subcommittee never came to the Black Lives Matter Signage Committee or to the town board to let us know that the image of Minister Farrakhan was going to be added to the wall. He was well aware how the white members of the town board felt about it. And I believe as leader of the Black Lives Matter signage subcommittee, of the mural subcommittee, it was incumbent upon him to bring that information to us before it was actually painted, so we could make a decision, so we could talk to Kindo about, how so that certain members of the town board could express themselves, talk to the artists about how they felt about the image, and decide whether it should stay or leave or be replaced with something else. That to me is what a leader does. Okay, what happened is he didn't do that. He allowed the image to go up, knowing that it was going to be controversial, and he created a controversy in order to make himself look good in the community. And that's why we're all here now. And that really is what happened. And even in the face of even in face of the Mural subcommittee's voting to take down the image, that's the committee that he's the head of. Okay, they voted to take down the image, and he's not listening to them. He's going on this tirade, blaming members of the town board for censorship. He's got the artists all hot and bothered talking about censorship, and it really has nothing to do with censorship. It has very little to do with Louis Farrakhan himself, as much as the fact that he did not bring this information to us so we could have a conversation about it before it was painted on the wall.
I want to interrupt you real quick. I'm sorry. So I want to give the artist a chance to speak, and then I want to give Cliff a chance to speak. Well, one of the things, and I want the artist to speak to whatever his understanding was, why he put Farrakhan on, and did he think he could do that? And I want to give Cliff a chance to speak to the fact that you said Cliff did this knowingly, that it was going to aggravate and you like inflame the situation. Like, that's an opinion of yours. I don't know if that's a fact. You know what I'm saying? Like that he blatantly just did this to like buck the whole system and piss everybody off. Kindo, can you put your camera on real quick? I wanted to give you a chance to speak. Nobody's heard from you yet. Okay, there you go. You're still muted.
Yeah, I was trying to charge my phone. My phone's been like
right. So can you speak about, you're the artist, so you put Farrakhan on the wall, and so what was your thinking in that, and your understanding as far as adding additional people on the wall, and they're saying that you needed permission for every additional person or something like that.
Well, to speak to your question first, there was a vicious lack of oversight when it came to this project. I think that's why it's taken about 2 years for it to actually kick off the way it has. I haven't really seen much of the councilman or either the councilwoman when it came to this project. It's been very sporadic. I've seen more of them now as things have gotten a lot more, public and political. But I think the main thing that I wanted to touch on was that this was my vision. I put this vision together like 2 years ago when there was no money involved. I didn't get a chance to ask Paul Feiner why he told the news that I got paid $100,000 when I didn't. Yes, and I also didn't get a chance to ask him why his public feelings or his personal feelings were coming public, and like why they were, I guess, making him make decisions with a public office position. So, I mean, for all those things, like, I didn't really understand why, my vision was being taken this way. I wanted to speak to the oversight because I didn't have a problem adding any of the other people that were included after the first iteration of the project was approved, because I was given artistic expression and license. And the story that I planned on telling was very vivid and it was very clear. And I explained that there was going to be gaps that had to be filled by other artists that were supposed to be included. Now, for about a year, I was told that I would have about 13 to 14 artists working with me. Sarah Bracy White, who's not here, actually did a really good job of putting the artists together in the interim in the beginning. But the people didn't show up. They did not show up. So the people that actually took the project forward were my good friend that I had to bring down from Albany, Mahad Harvin, who is the lead assistant. And, both of us, we got to pretty much fill in the gaps and complete everything on the fly. This was understood because we didn't have any of the help that was promised us. The main help that we got from Shanika Bennett and Akeon Chestnut came in the second week of the project when they kind of saw what was going on. And, they helped from the beginning. They've been on the project from the beginning, but coming down to the mural, it was so much work that had to be done. And Akeon is in a wheelchair. So, he had to walk up the steps with his hands pretty much. We had to get him up the steps almost every day he came down. So 14-hour days, 15-hour days for about a week, being told that I got paid like $100,000, being told by people on this call that I was being censored, and to be told to my face that this situation is something that could halt the project, stop the artists that work those hours with me, that I put together this project with, from getting money that they didn't even care about. That was the craziest thing about all of it. These artists didn't do any of this for money. I didn't do it for money. Nobody was in this project from the beginning for money, because we didn't even know if we would get funded. So for all of that stuff to be held over these people's heads for a personal vendetta, for something that is like so arbitrary and subjective, like I made sure that the parameters of my contract, which also state that if the project is held up for any reasons, that I could possibly move forward with legal action. And this is not something that I agreed to. I didn't agree to this project being held up the way it's being held up right now, because this is a personal vendetta. This has nothing to do with me breaching or encroaching on the project, on the contract rather. We all know this. So for this, I would like to just say, everything that went up on that wall, it came from my brain. It came from my idea. My father has a picture with him and Louis Farrakhan on his wall in our house, because he said, and he had dinner with the man, with my aunt, before she died of cancer, while the minister had cancer. Both of them talked about that. So these are things he made sure that he had an armed guard. My father is a retired police officer at the 2-8 precinct. So he made sure that he had armed security on the tarmac at LaGuardia Airport. I have a personal connection to this. So I keep getting really upset when people keep trying to make it out that this man Clifton, who also didn't advocate to have his name or face or what have you on the wall. This was a mural subcommittee. This was Sarah Bracey White and Pastor Verlin Williams, who pretty much asked for him to have his face on the wall for everything that he did to get the project forward. I agreed to it. I could have said no. People asked me to put Al Sharpton on the wall. I said no. People asked me to put a lot of different people on the wall. I said no. And none of these people, some of them which made it to the wall, did not go through town board approval. But I don't see anybody talking about those people. There's only one person. And when this was brought to me, people said, this project is not going forward unless that comes down. Now, I don't know I don't know what y'all think that is, but that's extortion. Anywhere where I'm from. And I'm from Harlem, so I don't get extorted. I made that real clear. Anything that I did in the beginning, I said, you know what? I'm gonna do it because this project is bigger than me. It's bigger than the people that are doing this. Like, I'm not gonna stand in the way, impeding their process and getting this project from giving knowledge to the community that it's for. It wasn't any ideas about going after the Jewish community, or there's nothing up there. There's no swastikas up there. There's nothing that's up there that's even anti-Semitic. There's a person's face. A person's face is up there.
I'm gonna get to Cliff in a second. I got a question real quick. Sorry, Cliff. I meant to ask this while Paul Feiner was on. It is my understanding when the mural is completed, there will be QR codes under the pictures so that people can scan it and learn more about those people. The town controls what is. I mean, Kindo's not and Cliff are not writing that and creating this QR. That's going to be the town doing that. Y'all control was going to be on that. Somewhat of was going to be on that QR code. So
well, I don't want to say they. Yeah, I don't want to say that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I didn't want to. Yeah, there was an understanding that I had to give a summary, a summarization of the piece, and we were going to work together. Okay. So it wasn't like I was going to dictate, and they weren't going to dictate. It was like, let's work together to kind of see how we're going to lay this out. Originally, it was going to be in writing. But then it wound up being the idea to put it into a QR code that could go onto the sidewalk, and it would probably have an audio track along with like some literature to go with it.
Okay, so my point. I'm glad you corrected me on that. So my point is, what would be the harm on leaving Farrakhan up and saying that he was the head, the responsible for the Million Man March, which is a great big thing in Black history, and having an asterisk at the bottom of it saying, and sometimes some Jewish people find him anti-Semitic. What would be you have a QR code there? You understand what I'm saying? What would be the harm in that?
I think there is none. In terms of what it would say, I think, he was one of 40 people, actually. There was a 40-person committee that put together the Million Man March. And he was one of 40, and they asked him to be the keynote speaker.
Right.
The Nation of Islam funded the project, but it wasn't like he organized it and put it together. He was one of many that wanted to see all people come together. So this was stuff that I know not many people may know, but I was like, maybe we could put this information into the QR codes and other people be able to get more information about the man. Now, as far as the anti-Semitic comments from the Anti-Defamation League and the things of that nature, I understand what's documented. I also understand how they tackled Rabbi Yatzik, the Sephardic rabbi that called all black people monkeys in a sermon. And they didn't even talk about him by name. And they pretty much said that his comments were derogatory, but nothing was said about his name or his rank or anything like that. So it's really wild that the double standards that keep coming. And the fact that this was approved by the people who were supposed to approve it. And then a week later, I got the email to come onto a Zoom call where I was questioned about why I was up there, why Cliff was up there. I gave the same thing I'm telling you guys now. I'm like, this is what happened in the committee. I would think that the committee and the town board would have more of an understanding on those things, but I had to give them a summary of what happened. And then I was told that the project would not move forward unless we took that down. I told them that it seemed like this was censorship, and I was told that it was. And I was also told that things were going to have to be this way if we needed to move forward. So I wanted to make sure that the artist got paid. And before, I just want to say this one last thing, AJ, I'm sorry. But this is the biggest thing to me that got me really upset. These artists were supposed to have $10,000 given to them. Between all of the 13 artists that were supposed to be on originally, that only wound up being, I believe, 6. There was supposed to be $10,000 that was supposed to be given to them. There was supposed to be $10,000 allocated for the assistant. This money magically went missing during the project. And when I asked about it, I had to listen to quotes about $68,000 gates and $20,000 cameras and Wi-Fi and all this. And I'm asking them, like, why is the money not being found to take care of these artists that are out here? Nika was out there with her daughter for like 12 hours working on this project with us. And the fact that it wasn't acknowledged until I had to push the issue. The fact that I had to push the issue. Cliff and I had to make sure that these artists got paid. We had to make sure that these artists got paid. And I'm finding out that it was maybe because it was only a verbal agreement. So I thought that was disingenuous. And I really thought that waiting until the 11th hour, until the press got involved to make sure that everything was taken care of, was also disingenuous. So moving forward, man, like, I'm not really sure how we're going to get this figured out. But, I'm not happy. I put it that way.
I want to thank Brother Cliff for his patience. And I want to give you the floor now. And Councilman Jones, if I misquote you, please correct me. But and one of the last things you said when you did spoke was that he purposely put this image up knowing that it would inflame the community. I'm paraphrasing and not your exact words. I think that's more of an opinion than a fact. And I would like Cliff to speak to that.
Well, thank you, AJ. We had a meeting. I was supposed to be on the Human Rights Committee, which I was on for 2 years. And as you know, I did an honest discussion on racism in Greenburgh, and I had you and Tasha Young be the moderators of it, right? I on the Human Rights Committee, I did the bar out for housing. With the Human Rights Committee, we did displacement with the seniors at the height of the pandemic. We talked about that when they allowed the housing authority to move the 80 years old and older seniors to bring them to different places. So at the meeting, Ken, Ellen Hendricks, Francis Sheen, Gina, and Paul. They had a closed session. They brought me in the back. And they said to me, And also, I was trying to get on the 30D Young Community Center advisory. Francis Sheehan opened his laptop up and said, "You said that Paul Feiner that Minister Farrakhan and the highest Jewish priest should have a debate." And I said, yes, they should, because Paul came up with an Israel resolution, and I said that, and they said to me, that's anti-Semitic. And they said, I said, how is it? Then Francis Sheehan said to me, as a white man, you told me as a white man, I should be quiet when it comes to Black issues and Black culture. And I said, yes, you should be. I said, because I'm trying to learn about Jewish, Asian, or any other culture, I listen to find out what's going on. So Ken Jones said, I can't respect nothing Cliff do and his politics, and I can't vote for him. Then Ellen Hendricks and Paul Feiner said that I'm anti-Semitic because they wanted me to denounce Minister Farrakhan, and I told them I would not denounce a leader of the Black community. So moving forward, right, Ken have a personal beef with me for some odd reason. And we was on the Human Rights Committee, and people came and asked Ken, as a Black man, all the things that Cliff do for the community in Fairview, why would you have no harsh feelings for him? He really couldn't answer it. But I want to just make it crystal clear about this mural. 2 years ago, in July of 2020, I came to the town board by myself, and I asked, can we have this mural on Manhattan Avenue? They said no, they said it would be distracted. That was in June. I came back in July, and Ken, I think Gina excused herself from it. I don't think Ken voted on it. And Ellen, Francis, and Paul voted for to have the mural be done, because I found out that they said, what's his name? Terrence Jackson, the commissioner of the community center, said to me, hey, Cliff, Garrett Kane, the planning commissioner, said that he could help you out. I said, how's that? He said, you could put this under the mural, because he found out that he did something in New Rochelle. And if you're open to it, he could get it done for you. I said, hey, no problem. We all used to hang out when we were teenagers under the bridge. So the town voted on it. AJ, and to your audience, I went and got the rocks, 600 rocks from Woodland High School. They painted it red, black, and green, 600 names of the people who was murdered unarmed in 3 days. I went to a dusty rock pile and got the big rocks. I end up, and I hate saying I, because it's all about we, and it's bigger than me and Kindo. This is our history. So I came up with red, black, and green rocks. And I said, hey, we're going to tell a story. And I asked, and then Ken know I picked it, Pastor Verlin Williams, Sarah Bracy White, and Judith Beville as to be the subcommittee. And I don't know where Gina coming from, because Gina was at none of the meetings. She's here today for whatever reason.
She was invited by me and Damon to speak about especially the voting part, because she was one of the people that told me there was no vote, and she was getting calls why she voted that way, and it was so she was invited by me and Damon. But I want to give Damon some questions. Wait,
can I just finish what I have to say before you go there? Because I sat here real patiently while everybody did their thing and left me out, because the curation came through me. I told a story, us being in Africa, kings and queens, the Sankofa bird, fetch where you come from, as we walk through America, 1619, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, civil rights, and this is where it is. I went and picked all the artists out. I went and found Kindo. I went and found, I started the meeting to have us discuss all of this. So we've been in this for 2 years, and Kindo been in it for 1.5 years. He came on without even being paid before the money even came up. Ken is on the meeting that when it comes to the Black Lives Matter, he made it a Black Lives Matter committee because they made it a project. Sign, banner, mural. He know nothing about the mural because that came from the committee I was in charge of. And so the sign got torn down in 24 hours. That was a mess. The banners, I got the high school to color in the banner. So I put a lot of work in for 2 years, and it's really disgusting that people feel like this, and it's personal. And when we did this, it had nothing to do with the Jewish race, it had everything to do with the African American race. And Paul Feiner, who is the town supervisor of everybody, he made the separation. He dividing the communities because his personal hate for Minister Farrakhan got in the way.
Damon had questions earlier, so I want my co-host. So Damon, Lane, and Bob in that order. Any questions y'all have?
No, brother, you could pass. I'll pass because it was basically directed at Paul, and I think and I think we kind of answered it, but I have to ask. All right, so let me just. You have the committee, and AJ, you spoke of it earlier. First of all, protest is not nice, right? Protest offends, right? We wouldn't protest, if we wasn't trying to offend, right? Protest offends. I don't care how we want to put it. So if we're gonna call it a mural of protest, that means the people that we're putting up there had to offend powers that be, for an issue. And then if we're talking protests, and we're talking Black protests and our Black protests in America, one of the most greatest part of protest in my lifetime, and I'm 54, was the Million Man March. And I do remember, and I spoke this earlier, I don't understand how all of a sudden it was a problem for Minister Farrakhan, but it wasn't a problem when Greenburgh shut down to go to the Million Man March. Greenburgh shut down. I don't know. I know it because I'm from Greenburgh. And I know Greenburgh shut down when the Million Man March was there. And I still, and Paul Feiner was what, in 30 years in office, and I think,
33.
He was around.
Then, yeah.
He was around then, and he had nothing to say. And nobody from the Greenburgh Town Board had nothing to say. Nobody had nothing to say when the school shuts down. They didn't say, "Well, y'all were going down there to an anti-Semite," right? Nobody was saying that. So I think it's hypocritical of the town of Greenburgh when history shows the fact that they shut down for the march. Now,
wait.
Also,
Can I interrupt you? I'm sorry. And Kindo, I got to put him back on the screen later too. For some reason, he's not on the screen. But he sent me a text saying he was told he could not add the Million Man March. That's what the artist just, So
or Elijah Muhammad.
I don't understand why, if it's a protest and you can't add one of the most pivotal points in Black protests was the Million Man March. The historic that 2 million Black men came down to protest the conditions of Black people, the conditions of the oppression of Black men, and the conditions of Black communities. This is, I'm kind of baffled on that, and to the fact that if you have Muhammad Ali, you have Malcolm X, right? It's like AJ said, KRS-One. Protest is not nice. So, I mean, if we want a nice wall, then make it a nice wall with good Black people. But if we're going to talk about protests and the fight for Black people to be seen as humans and civil rights, it's not nice because let me tell you something. You and we're talking just history here. You got Martin Luther King up there, and he wasn't liked neither by a lot of Black preachers. He couldn't even go in Black churches. So let's I mean, come on, man. Like we're all adults. And this is our struggle. This is our struggle. And for us to have a conversation about a conversation it's really crazy, man. I really don't understand. But what we got to understand, what we need to get, how did we get to this point? Because Cliff, if you was over the committee, how did the committee end up voting to take the minister down?
Okay, you asked me a question. So what happened, I'm over the committee of the Mural, right? And what happened, Ken came to the committee and he said that he came straight out and said, Minister Farrakhan is coming off. He said, no talk, no questions, nothing about it. So the committee wanted it to go forward. And the committee voted at that time to replace him with either Elijah Muhammad or the Million Man March, right? Then myself, I rescind my vote when I said no. I said the minister stays up. And then it was, and Pastor Williams said, well, Cliff ain't the only member to this committee. He said he shouldn't be the only vote. So it really was like 2-2 because Judith Beville was in between and Sarah Bracy White and Pastor Williams, only because the way Ken Jones came to us was like, if we don't take him down, the Mural going to be shut down. And Pastor Williams and Sarah felt that so much work was done to this and so many hours into it, people were working so hard, they didn't want to see it shut down. And then we said, no, we're going to keep it up. And then I started talking to Kindo and we started a protest.
I want to pass the mic to Lane if you have any questions.
I'm not sure I actually have any questions. I did read the comment that Councilman Jones, put in the chat saying that this is not a personal vendetta. We are missing the point. The point is we are not told that the image was being put up to discuss it, even though it was a known controversial image. And when we are organizers and when we are creating things for communities, we have to be sensitive to the lived experience of the people who live in the community. And that is all the people that live in the community. And if it's supposed to be a project that's going to build bridges, then it shouldn't necessarily be controversial, right? We should be sensitive and to be able to be more flexible. And I understand that people are sensitive about their racial wounding, right? Because that goes across all races. If you were born in the United States, you've got an experience around some type of, racial issue. The town commissioned the mural, and the town and the committees should be working together to figure out how to make this something that makes everyone, that lifts everyone up. And if it is, and it really isn't, it isn't a hard understanding to understand why Minister Farrakhan would be a controversial figure. He made himself that way, right? Nobody made him that way. He made himself that way. I want to say that I did hear.
Can I answer that, AJ, once she finished?
Wait, hold on.
Sir, hold on a second. So I did hear, I saw that Kindo said that he was told that he couldn't add the Million Man March. But when Paul Feiner was on, I heard him say, depict the Million Man March. All right. And because, right, the Nation of Islam, the movement absolutely is empowering the Black community. So let's have, he said that. Right. So what if we do that? Is that a possibility? Can we get off of, can we find the flexibility to say, okay, you know what? There is a solution here. We want this to be the work to go forward, rather than just stick to our positions that isn't going to get the work done. And it's just going to have us kind of stuck in this adversarial relationship, because the world is watching. We have an opportunity to create a very good example of what happens when a community lifts up its people, and to actually have these arguments is not helpful. It's not a good look. And I feel like there should be a way for us to move forward.
AJ.
Okay, Cliff. I'm saying yes. Cliff,
Yeah.
Can you answer that? But briefly, because there's a lot.
Briefly, it can be briefly. First of all, to Miss Cobb, it's a black community. Okay? It was nothing to do with the Jewish community at all. For them to see this mural, they would have to come into Fairview under a bridge. It's not in the open. So, and it was a protest. It wasn't about Paul and Kennedy were trying to make it's a Greenburgh kumbaya. That wasn't the whole point of this mural. They're making that now because people are complaining about it. And we didn't even get a chance to complete it. Because we got a chance to complete it, it would tell everybody the story. That's what the QR codes is for. That's what everything. It's in a black community. So we cannot go into a Jewish community and see something we don't like about their community. They laugh at us if we came there and say we don't like this image of somebody. It's our community.
Yeah.
Why? Paul made it a mess because he said to you, it's personal. His personal opinion as a Jewish person. Well, this ain't a Jewish community. And we can't say nothing to them when they put up whatever they put up in the Jewish community.
I agree.
So why we allow them to come into our community and tell us who we could have as a leader? Mr. Farrakhan ain't controversial to blacks, well, to most blacks.
Yes, that's the point, Cliff. It's not exactly true, though, right? That's not exactly true. Not all black people, not everybody in the community supports Mr. Farrakhan's picture on there, right? You can't just assume, right? And I know that the community wasn't really consulted about what went up there, right? And I have spoken to community members who say, nobody asked me, and I'm not really supportive of this. The other thing is we have to be careful about setting a precedent, right? Because if, let's just say in a Jewish community or any other community, right? Black people, we have a problem when we see images in quote unquote white communities that offend us, right? And so we want to make a statement about that they can't do that. But if they have a problem with somebody that offends them in our community, we want to say, y'all don't get a say. Now, I completely understand why that is, right? The historical, narrative about racism in this country, I completely understand that we don't want white people, Jewish people, anybody telling us what we can and cannot have in our communities. And yet we have to be careful because we cannot have it both ways. So it actually is kind of a slippery slope. And as organizers, I feel like we kind of need to be sensitive and be willing to listen and flex. I got it. You don't want to look weak and we don't want to be compromised because we feel like it's manipulation and we're being told what to do. And sometimes in politics, we have to make, in order to get something done, we need to be talking, not arguing, right? There's a difference there. But I respect your work, Cliff. I respect all the work that you put in. I respect all the work of the Greenburgh Town Council because I think it's a big deal that you all have done everything that you have done, right? And you should be extraordinarily proud of that work, right? And it's kind of like, is it not possible to find a solution so that this can be an example of what's possible when people come together and work together?
I want to, and then I'm going to ask Bob if he had any questions. I just want to say, so speaking as the editor-in-chief and co-owner of Black Westchester, we're often told what we shouldn't say, and when covering Black issues, and I am often called offensive to groups of people. And anytime in this history, the black being pro-Black is the one thing that you can't be without being accused of being anti-something. We've been called anti-police. Damon's wife is a detective. That can't be the case. And he works in law enforcement. We've been called anti-Semitic. We've been called anti a few other things. We're pro-Black, so it's you're fighting for our issues and telling our stories and our narratives, and I fight for the right to be able to do that. And anybody who doesn't like that, they can just not view us or not watch us, or they can move on to something else. But I've also been accused of a lot of these things too. So I just wanted to say that, and I will always speak boldly and unapologetically Black. And anybody who doesn't like that, that's not my problem. You know what I'm saying? They're not my core audience of who I'm trying to represent. Dr. Bob, I wanted you to at least get a chance to ask a question or two and chime in, because I did ask you to be here today, and I value your voice.
Yes, thank you, AJ, and thank you everyone for gathering this evening.
Wait, can everybody who's not talking mute their mic? Because I'm getting feedback from somewhere, and I don't know whose mic it is. So
there we go.
There we go. All right.
There we go. Okay. So I want to thank everyone firstly for joining us to discuss this important and unfortunately controversial issue. My first question is to Clifford, Kindo, Councilman Jones, Councilwoman Jackson, and also to Paul Feiner, although he is not here. For one, as every Black person should know, it would be impossible to give an objective rendering of the history of Black people in the United States without, whether in narrative or visual form, without including the voices of people who I'm just going to call Black nationalists, who have been unvarnished in their denunciation of the system of white supremacy that has taken root here in the United States of America, often at the cost of being called anti-white. The disdain, if not the outright hatred, for the hateful, barbaric things that Black people have suffered in this country has been articulated forcefully. And there's no way, I want to just underscore this, there's no way one could ever tell the history of Black people without including their images and their voices. So, in light of this fact, I am curious to know from the governmental agencies and subcommittees that were responsible for crafting this contract, whether or not there was explicit discussion. Because I could name any number of figures who ought to be on a mural that depicts the Black freedom struggle, who took whites to be their sworn avowed enemies. Was there any discussion of what figures were acceptable, what figures were not prior to the artist? I know I've seen the renderings, but I want to know, was there a discussion that said, hey, these figures are going to be off limits, even though we are asking you to put together a mural that depicts Black history in the United States freedom struggle for the past 400 plus years?
No, there was a sketch, an approved sketch that contained some of the characters that actually were rendered. Outside of that sketch, there was no discussion with the larger Black Lives Matter signage committee or the town board with regard to any other images that were added.
But I think what Bob is asking. Go ahead, Bob. Go ahead.
No, he answered the question.
Okay.
Bob, Dr. Bob, but
Cliff, please. The answer is no.
Okay.
And it speaks to a kind of, let's be honest, I'm going to be honest as an outside observer. And I'll say this especially to Ken and to Councilwoman Jackson and to Councilman Jones. I believe y'all should have realized just how sensitive this could be, and we could have all anticipated that any artist who wants to celebrate Black history would be celebrating heroes that would be objectionable to the white community, and to have a discussion about what's appropriate. Now, I'm just saying I wish it would have occurred, because perhaps we may not have gotten to this point, but I understand. you know.
But the thing is, we trusted the leadership of Cliff Abrams that he would bring these things to us and let us know what was going on. He was the head of the mural subcommittee. It was incumbent upon him to bring these things to us so we could discuss them.
Can I add?
I want to follow up on the point here because look,
I wish I could get a word in to counter that, though. I just want to say this real fast, please. Dr. Bob, I need to say this. The bottom line is that Sarah Bracy White, Garrett Duquesne, they are the money people. They saw Minister Farrakhan on the mural. Before he got painted in, he was up there for 2 weeks. On August 12th, they paid the artist for completion. Nobody said nothing. And Minister Farrakhan, so usually when you pay somebody, and if you feel that they didn't complete the job right, you don't pay them. They paid them with Minister up there, and they said it looked beautiful and it's amazing. And then a week later, we get the call that it's unacceptable. So they could have not paid Kindo at all if they felt that this was a big problem. But they paid him. And under the contract, he would get paid once the completion of the first wall. And they paid him.
Bob, I want you to finish with your complete that follow. I want you to finish what you were saying. Because if not, because I do have
I have something else I do want to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Look, and I want to be clear because I think Lane Cobb, Miss Cobb has diagnosed the problem, the crux of the problem that exists here at present. I went up to the town to see the town mural. I was very excited. And I want to commend Cliff and all of the artists who were involved in the creation of the town mural. AJ and I went to take a look at the town mural several weeks ago.
On the second. Yeah.
On the second. We were both thoroughly impressed. We both saw the depiction of all of the imagery, including the minister. And I have to say, although I chuckle because it was my nervous acknowledgement that someone is not going to be happy with this, I nevertheless had nothing and have nothing but admiration for the job that was pulled together. It's a tremendous project. And I think it's quite an accomplishment. As a fellow activist, I have to say that explicitly to Cliff Abrams, because it takes a lot of doing to put together these projects of this scale. And I think he is to be commended along with everyone else. Having said that, I do want to underscore a point that Lane has made. The mural is not the property of the Black community. It is not created by an all-Black organization. Instead, the mural is being funded. And this is the issue of financial autonomy that we are really trying to skirt in the name of artistic freedom, which apparently was not given in this instance when one looks at the actual terms of the contract. The contract says explicitly that this mural must be approved by the BLM subcommittee, the mural subcommittee, the Black Lives Matter committee, and the town council. So the town, everyone agreed to give the town a significant say. I mention this because I'm looking at Greenburgh's demographic composition, and Black people make up 12% of the residents of Greenburgh. You want me to tell what? We're going to have a problem if the racial minority in a all-Black town like Mount Vernon, or a Black majority town like Mount Vernon, gets to override the will of the majority. There is a different dynamic involved here, and it does involve democratic decision-making that must be acceptable to the entire community. And I do want to underscore that because I don't think there's any way around that. Black people can feel as impassioned as we would like about artistic freedom and the appropriateness of having Minister Farrakhan on such a mural. But my reading of the situation, my analysis is that we have the least amount of power here. And, you know, I am not hopeful at this point about some sort of equitable resolution that's acceptable to all parties if we take the respective positions that we have. Well, that's my.
We also have Peter Bernstein here. He has been waiting patiently in the green room. He was definitely vocal on the topic as a Jewish man, and how what he feels about Farrakhan being on the mural. And I quoted him in one of my editorials, and I wanted to give Peter a chance to chime in a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, AJ. Hi, everybody. And thanks to you and Damon for giving us the opportunity to talk, and thanks to Cliff and the artists for producing a wonderful mural. I really didn't get involved with the mural at all until Cliff asked me to be on a committee to start planning a celebration, an inauguration celebration day. And so I went over and saw the mural and loved it. And of course, I didn't even think of it as a Louis Farrakhan mural, right? Because there's so many different aspects to it. It's so cool. Like, and there's, like some of you have said, historic figures are not perfect. This isn't Disneyland, So, whether it's Muhammad Ali or even, Marcus Garvey, who said things maybe we all didn't think, might not make sense to us today. But the real thing, like what so I think the mural is great, but really like what I'm upset about now, and I have to like kind of move beyond the process like that got us here. So, I acknowledge what's canon, people are arguing about like, well, what was the process, how to get here? But for us to be here today and this mural to be creating bad feelings and ill will between like the Jewish and Black communities, like it pains me. And to me, like part of it is because there's walls between the communities. The communities don't know each other well enough, don't respect each other well enough. When I've had the good fortune of being able to interact with the Black community. So to me, I know that like Farrakhan's not up there because of the like controversial stuff he says. He's up there for what he and the Nation of Islam represent to the Black community for other reasons. But I would hope this would be an opportunity for other people to learn the perspectives, because like diversity isn't us all agreeing, right? Diversity is respect for different different points of view. So what I'd like to see is like a way we can, if we take down Farrakhan, people are just going to be pissed at the Jewish people. Like, look, you came into the Black community and told us what we can do, and look at, and it's censoring art. Art can be controversial, and controversial art can create the kind of conversations we need to have. I mean, questions I'm asking is, why is there a highway right through the middle of that neighborhood? The murals and underpass, a highway was built right through that neighborhood. It wasn't built right through my neighborhood. What are the health implications to the neighborhood? We have much bigger questions that we should be asking about, than spending time. I mean, how that sign came down in one day, and we argued about putting that sign back up for what, like 9 months? And now we're arguing about like one person on this big, wonderful mural. Like, we got more important things to do. But I do think like we need to break down the walls between communities and figure out, I know Ken and Gina have heard me say this before. I've lived in Irvington for a long time. And, the incorporated towns make believe that the town don't even exist, right? We got our own police, our own garbage. We don't go over there. That's why, like, a lot of people like complain about the mural. They never go under there,
Exactly.
Exactly. The mural. So yeah, we gotta talk about this stuff, because we're in this controversy. But like the real question, I think AJ and Damon, Cliff, you guys know, how to do this stuff. Dr. Bob Lane. Is we gotta like break down some of the walls so people go like, of course Farrakhan would be on a mural along with Muhammad Ali and along with Marcus Garvey and along with Harriet Tubman and all the other historic history. So that's my 2 cents. I wouldn't have spoken about the mural had it not been this Jewish, like, kind of black divide about it, because I think it's really, Greenburgh community, you folks should be deciding who was on your mural. I'm only speaking up because I can't stand that it's become this kind of us versus them thing. And there's plenty of Jewish people who support, like, the Black liberation movement and understand, history isn't pretty.
That's right.
AJ, if I can, it's Gina.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Lane Cobb, for your earlier points. And Peter, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for your points. I just want to say that the council standpoint was a contract issue. That was what the council standpoint was. Where it became personal, that was very unfortunate, because this is something, and I have said that to many of the community members that I have spoken to, that this is something that we need to be celebrating. We should not be fighting about. We've just had a historic moment a couple of weeks ago prior that it got lost and it got missed because we are so focused on this issue here. And I'm not to say that this issue is not important, but what my challenge is and what I'm emotional about, and that's really the word, because my emotion goes up and down, is that we are taking something so beautiful and made it so controversial. I would like to suggest that now, I just wanted to make a point, because we went back to the contract, and thank you, Dr. Bob, for pointing out the contract. And anyone who wants to review the contract is 16.1, and it says modification, and you can see who would state that you would need to get their approval. So I just want to make sure that is clear. But then secondly, going forward, any images going forward, please, let's survey the community. Let's survey the community that Cliff's saying that he's speaking to. Let's survey the community that's in the area. Let's survey the community to say, hey, this is who I want to see up there. Because personally, and I'm just speaking personally, there are images that were not there that I would have wanted to see. But this is a committee. So I am going to say, if this is what the committee has decided, then which I further later learned that there was not some sort of survey or anything to say this is what everyone wants to see. So I really want to stop the fighting. I really want to move forward. I really want us to really recognize and acknowledge that this is a contract issue, that I know that Councilman Jones is working with the artists, and they're working in that. I just wanted to funk some rumors that was the artists will be getting paid. We're not defunking the project. We just need to make sure going forward that the contract is adhered to. So I just wanted to, it just is very upsetting that, again, this is a staple. And just like AJ and I have said numerous times, is that this is not just for the town. This is beyond the town. This is something that Greenburgh has been very committed to showing and to dealing with the racism that is happening and standing up to fight against racism, against what Greenburgh Human Rights, the Greenburgh Against Systemic Racism, the Black Lives Matter Committee, the signs that has come out of the Black Lives Matter Committee, the mural that's coming out of this committee, and we also want to just make sure that we recognize that and we remember that. So just for me, I just want to make sure that it is clear, this on record, that if there is any, and thank you, AJ, for reaching out, and thank you for those who's reaching out, to reach out us directly, because there are just so much false information that's being spread in the community, and it's just dividing us. And I personally am working so hard to bring us together, despite what people may feel personally. But this is why I do the things that I'm doing. This is why we have Greenburgh Against Systemic Racism. This is why we are trying to address, and we have done great things that has come out of that. So we want to recognize that. I'm not taking away from anything of any great work that anyone has put into this project, because everyone should be committed into this great project. But let's stop the fighting. Let's make sure that we recognize that there is a contract in place and that we adhere to that contract.
I do want to say one thing. Am I muted? Am I on?
You're on.
Okay. I do want to say one thing. The point of this was to kind of get, things I felt like. I'm sitting here in Mount Vernon, and my phone has been ringing ridiculously from all sides day and night to the point that it is a problem. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather be working on something else right now, but when we have these conversations, it's because it got to this point and we were asked to do it. I do want to say though, the slippery slope with removing Farrakhan now that he's up. That's why I said the using of the QR codes. So there are other images on there, like Kenneth Chamberlain, Tavon Martin, I believe, Damroy Henry. So what happens now when, like, just say the Westchester County Police, which is mostly white, says, oh, we can't have that. That's anti-police. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's always going to be some fraction that is going to complain about something. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this should be a teaching moment. This should be a conversation piece. The problem is we're talking at each other and not to each other. And I mean, there's a lot of images. There's a lot of, like Paul might not want to hear, Jewish people did have a lot to do with slavery. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that's just a fact. You know what I'm saying? But we have to have those conversations. You understand what I'm saying? And we can't run from it. And I don't like this. And I wasn't really with all of I wasn't supporting all of the taking down of all the statues. Some of that is history, and we need to. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, what we're gonna do is discontinue all the money we have now, like, because slave owners are on the dollar bills, on all the bills. Like, where do we stop? You understand what I'm saying? So I believe this. I feel personally, taking down Farrakhan's here now. Farrakhan and the Million Man March and all of that stuff was very important in the Black movement. Again, and I'm speaking from personal experience as the editor-in-chief of Black Westchester. My words ruffle a lot of feathers, and they're not always meant to ruffle feathers. We're just getting out facts. We're stating facts and getting out our story that is not being told anywhere else. And I look at it from my perspective as this mural is doing that artistically. So I mean, I don't have a vote either way, whether it stays or go. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to bring all of this to a head. Bob, and I do, Kendall, a few things were said, and Kendall left comments in a private chat, and he wasn't on the screen, so I did want to let him speak. Go ahead, Bob.
No, I noticed Kindo's comment that says his phone may die shortly. So I don't know if you might know.
So Kendall, I know that you wrote a couple of things in the private chat because you weren't on the screen. And I wanted to give you a chance to say that on, so everybody can hear you.
Yeah, I'm trying to charge my phone, so I'm in a bit of an awkward position. I didn't want to put the camera up, but
no problem.
Yeah, no, like if to speak to the contract dispute, if it's a contract dispute, then the contract that's in place should be sufficient. But I was only given of a written assurance that all the other artists would be paid in the form of a new contract that had two amendments. One amendment stating that the artist would be paid, and the other one stating that I would have to remove pretty much the picture of the minister. And I had more amendments kind of outlining, what we're talking about going forward, which is more oversight. I didn't feel comfortable signing something like that, being that the artists were supposed to be paid from the get-go. That was kind of a verbal agreement. And the fact that it was brought up after things have become so public was a little, it was a little off-putting. I'll put it that way. So,
Bob, is that was what you wanted to acknowledge, that his phone? Oh, okay. I do want to say, Gina brought this up, and I said this in my research of a recorded vote. So, going back to that part, the last vote was a special meeting, I believe, where they promoted the Black captain to chief to the top cop spot, and it's a historical. That is historical. We don't have in the county of Westchester, we've only had one city that has had a Black commissioner on the top spot in police, and that's been Mount Vernon. and we haven't always had that, and we don't have that. So that sometimes, and that's what we do when we do Black Westchester. We don't allow those things to get overshadowed by other talking points and some other things that are meant to, diminish some historical relevance. So I just wanted to say that verbally, and we did cover that, and we put that in the paper, and we put that on the website. We did cover that. We're coming kind of close to the close of the show. I know there's a lot of people in the comment section that would like to ask a lot of questions. I know there are even some people that are participating that wanted to say more. I know there were other people, Janice from the NAACP, but she wanted to come on and speak as a citizen, not from the NAACP, but she wasn't able to get in because we can only have 10 people at a time. What I want to say, this is not something that can be solved in 2 hours, but hopefully we started a conversation, and hopefully some of y'all can start working together, because I'm going to tell you, I talked to Cliff, I talked to Gina, Brother Ken, I hadn't talked to you personally. You know what I'm saying? I talked to Paul Finer, I talked to Kindo, and some of the things that were all told to me were not, I'm quite sure some of these things weren't being told between the two, weren't being said to each other. You understand what I'm saying? And hopefully we're using our platform to at least get that started. This is your community, even though history has its eyes on you, and we're all watching. This is all your community. Whether y'all really want to miss this moment, that should be a great historical moment, and let it end in controversy, that is actually on all of y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can cover it, I can give coverage to it, but y'all have to do the work, and hopefully some of that comes out of this. That was the purpose of bringing y'all together. And like I said, I'm thanking everybody who tried to get in. I'm thanking everybody who left comments and asked me questions and tried to call me to ask questions and have text me with questions. I have not got a chance to ask everybody's question, and I was trying, to get as much in as possible and as many different voices as possible. I hope we accomplished that. Cliff, Gina and Ken, last words. I'm gonna start with y'all, and then we're gonna go through and let everybody last words.
I just want to say thank you so much, AJ and Damon, for putting this forum together so we can come talk about this issue, because it is a serious issue, and it's an unfortunate issue, quite honestly. This is definitely something that we need to be celebrating. So just thank you to everyone else who was listening and who commented. Dr. Bob, always good to see you. Ms. Cobb, thank you so much. I read your words. I appreciate everything that you said. But just thank you. We got to move from this place, and we got to move to a place that we are inclusive and not being exclusive. And we will make sure that we're working together and being as one, and bring our community together and not being divided. And this is unfortunate, quite honestly. But I know we're going to prevail, because we're Greenburgh, and we will truly, truly prevail.
Councilman Jones, last words.
The town commissioned the mural with the artist in order to celebrate African Americans in this time post George Floyd. And we hope to continue to do that. We hope to meet with the artist and work out these issues and move forward, because, as Gina mentioned, it really is about the celebration. It's not about all this arguing and mishigas that we're dealing with now. This is just a distraction from the celebration of Black lives that we wanted to have in the town of Greenburgh.
Kindo, would you any last words? I don't know how you are with your phone.
Yeah. I just want to say that for all the artists, that's myself, Mahad Harvin, Akion Chestnut, Shanika Barrett, I believe her last name is, Erin Jacobson, Ariana, and Omar Watson. For all of them, they have conveyed to me that they're ready to keep painting. I was told that the only thing holding this up was the town, and I believe Paul Finer telling the project manager not to seal the mural. So as of right now, this project could be finished. Everybody kind of took the requisite time off to get it done, and we're ready to move forward. We have been. We took the compromise route, and that was denied. We were kind of dictated afterwards, and now we're here. So I feel like if we could just move forward and just start working on the other wall, that would be great, and we're all ready to do so.
And you led me to my next question. You had no idea I was going there. Kindo and then Cliff, please talk about the other wall and what the vision is for that. And hopefully, everybody's on the same page with that, and we can just keep moving with that one. So, talk about that, Kindo, and Cliff.
So Cliff and Sarah Bracy White and the whole subcommittee, they did a really good job of equipping me with like some starting points. And they all had, us in royalty, like Cliff alluded to. He was very, very adamant about like making sure we were seen in a very, very great light. I thought that was something that we really had to touch on. So I have portions of our history in ancient Kemet, in Western Africa. I have depictions of Mansa Musa. I have, depictions of our struggles. Obviously the transatlantic slave trade, the, sub-Saharan African slave trade. Some of those things are going to be depicted, indigenous peoples. I think now it's something that we got to hope to get to, or at least is, as it currently stands. And I know Clifton has been like so adamant on getting this thing done. So I know that we're going to be able to get this completed. I'm just looking forward to moving forward.
Cliff, would you like to speak about that other wall? I mean, a lot of this is somewhat your vision as well. So you're muted. You're muted. There you go.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody. When the vision came with this wall was not to hurt or get anybody angry. It was all about showing our history. And I also want to thank the artists. 13 hours a day and 90-degree heat. Nika, she's a young lady, her son 3 years old. She was there till 12 midnight. I had to babysit the kid as she was doing the artwork. They were so dedicated. I think this is being missed, of this beautiful, amazing wall borough that's there. All that people could find is Minister Farrakhan, And I just want to say that moving forward, we want to move forward, This ain't about trying to get Jewish people upset or nothing. We want to move forward. We want to tell the story. We got QR code. And this mural was nothing about a Greenburgh mural. Now everybody want to make it like it was about Greenburgh. It had nothing to do with Greenburgh. It was about Black history and Black protests, and we're moving to the future. And I just hope that we can move forward. I know they always tell us, get over it, move on. It's up there. They pay the artists. Let's move forward. Let's move on. Let's get it done. Let's use this as a teachable moment. I want to say the last thing, AJ. I got this young, what's her name? Feinstein, right? Laureen Feinstein, she from Edgemont. She have a children group in Edgemont. And she called me and said, Cliff, I want to bring my children to the mural to show them about Farrakhan and everybody. And I said to her, well, Minister Farrakhan, they want him down. She said, even if they do that, I want you to tell us about why he needs to be up there. So this is a Jewish woman who's willing to bring children in for a teachable moment.
Now, Dr. Bob mentioned something earlier in his question, and basically was a conversation had and agreement of images. I'm paraphrasing what you said, my brother. We have another wall here now. I foresee the way things were going, that's going to be more controversial than the other side. Are y'all willing to? It's not up yet. There hasn't been a sketch yet. There hasn't been.
Oh no, there's a sketch. There's a sketch, brother. There
was a sketch. Okay,
there's a sketch. It was approved.
There hasn't been a drawing or anything up there. So if there needs to be dialogue. I mean, this is me speaking. Look from the outside in. Whatever dialogue, whatever things that may be considered offensive, whatever things that need to be talked out. This is the time to talk that out now. so we don't have to do this again with what's on the other mural. I mean, the other side, and what's offensive to some people and not other people. And so,
Well, respectfully, AJ,
huh?
respect. I want to. I didn't mean to cut you off, brother. I'm sorry. Respectfully, I was gonna say we actually had that in our multiple town board meetings where they had to approve, and I was actually given some revisions to make after seeing like, you know, the initial sketches. So it was for both walls, and I made sure to include some imagery that the town board and the mural subcommittee kind of had in mind, and I let them know because it took so long to make those initial sketches, the ones that they used in the news. It took me a really long time to do that, and I kind of wanted to make sure that I didn't have to keep doing revisions, you know, just to kind of appease the board. Especially like it took me like about 2 months to make sure I had my contract sewed up. So I was doing all of that without a contract. So at this point, what I'm just wanting to do is move forward, like I said, and you know, I think we had those discussions, or at least I thought we did. So I think we're only doing this at this point because of how public it is. So I mean, I'm willing to listen. Like I said, I've always been willing to listen. I didn't think there was anything divisive from the set out, but you know, I'm not sure how that happens moving forward, man.
And I want to say to all involved, this is being done in a public forum right now because all of these comments and everything was public. But y'all have the opportunity to have whatever conversations, even if they got to be heated and dishes and whatever together, y'all can do that in private and nail all that and move forward. I just wanted to, you know, that's just my little 2 cents and all that. My sister, Lane Cobb, I thank you for being involved and coming on. You always invite me to your show, which you have on Wednesday that I will be co-hosting. Do you have any last words? And just tell the people who's going to be on your show Wednesday and what time and all that.
Yeah, I just really want to thank you and Damon for inviting me. And it's an honor to be here with you and Damon and Dr. Bob and everybody. Thanks for the compassionate listening, right? For being able and willing to like be here and state firmly your viewpoints and also to listen, because that's where we are. I want to just thank, as someone just said in the chat, thanks Black Westchester for hosting this forum. Thanks Sandy Burnaby for the shout out, because yeah, that is my thing. I try to be a peacemaker at all costs. And Race Talk Revolution on Wednesdays at noon. AJ, we're going to have a conversation about the how the education policy and programs in this country actually intersect with race. So you can go to racetalkrevolution.com and get some more information. Just thanks so much. It's an honor to be a part of this forum today.
Dr. Bob, my brother, and I asked every, you know, Bob is our co-host, and you know, hasn't been on every show lately, and I wanted him because of what he brings to it, and I specifically wanted Lane Cobb because what she brings to it. She's gonna come from a different lens, and we need all of that. You know what I'm saying? You know, we might all be a little more, you know, radical, and she might be more on healing and peacemaking. So, but we need that in it. We need that as well. Dr. Bob, you're muted.
The fact that we're having this conversation attests to a lack of understanding between the artist, the project leader, Cliff Abrams, and the various governmental agencies that have financed this project and ultimately formally have the decisive say in whether or not it is approved. The lack of effective communication, it seems to me, have really painted, I'll say, the artist and Cliff in a corner. I am in full agreement that one of the overriding principles here, from the perspective of the Black community and also the artist, has to be artistic freedom to depict Black history in ways that are faithful to the facts about who played an important role, irrespective of whether or not they are deemed controversial by the Black community. AJ, you reminded us that there's another mural that needs to be painted. How in God's name is there going to be a visual chapter that depicts the struggle against slavery and abolition here in the United States? If you don't talk about Black people who were willing to take up arms, and even some whites who were willing to take up arms and violently overthrow the established government of the United States, both North and South. If you were to include Nat Turner, who should be included, if you were to include some visual imagery from the Haitian Revolution and Toussaint Louverture, will we find ourselves again in this position? It seems to me that I can tell you, and I've encouraged everyone that I've spoken to in my private conversations not to agree to the removal of the image. It is too much to ask. At this point, I think that the compromise must lay in what AJ already pointed out, the use of QR codes to perhaps embed some sort of alternative narrative or something that might flesh out, especially the ministers, the controversy that swirls around him. To me, that would be and should be an acceptable compromise that would allow the project to go forward. Short of that, my fear is that this game of chicken will be played out to the end where there are no winners, and we will all end up losers. And so you guys have a lot of work to find a compromise, if the one that at least AJ and I to some degree are proposing is not acceptable. Good luck.
Right. My brother Damon K. Jones, I want you to put an exclamation mark on the conversation.
I want to thank everybody for coming on the show. I think it's a great when we could actually have real conversation, and without being disrespectful, and understanding that there is an assignment, to this conversation, and I don't envy to be in the shoes of Brother Ken Jones, Gina Jackson, Paul Feiner, in moving forward with this. I say that to also say that, the Nation of Islam has always been intertwined in the Black community and even in the Greenburgh community. We had two young ministers that came out of the Greenburgh community, graduated from Woodlands. We had Sister Janet Humphrey, who was my next door neighbor, was a long-lived follower of the Nation of Islam and babysitted many of the children in Parkway Gardens. We had other brothers who lived in Greenburgh that used to sell fish from door to door. So, people that actually lived long time in Greenburgh understand the intertwine. Even after the Million Man March, they had manhood training class at the Bright Hope Lodge, where 50 to 60 men used to come every Saturday. So, so it's intertwined. We heard Paul Feiner say to keep the Million Man March up. I don't know how you're going to separate the Million Man March from Minister Farrakhan. I don't know how you're going to do that. Good luck with that. I don't see that can happen. So, but I think also, I know Sister Cobb said that, some Black people will be upset what goes on in white communities, but Manhattan Avenue has always been a Black community. White folks never drive down there or use to drive down there. So, even when I was young, and for Black people to have a little cove where they could see their heroes in the struggle and struggle for freedom and justice and equality has never been agreeable on any sides. Right. So there's going to have to be a compromise, and the world is watching. This is not just become whether someone disagrees with Cliff or someone disagrees with Ken or someone disagrees with Paul. Now the world is watching. The entire world is watching. So we have to be sensitive, and I pray that everyone can go into the right directions, and even the artist being sensitive to the artist on what his vision is: struggle, freedom, justice, and equality for Black people. This it's bigger than Greenburgh, right? So our struggle is bigger than Manhattan Avenue, and I think it also represents the continuous struggle of people in Greenburgh for freedom, justice, and equality. So I just, man, as someone who grew up in Greenburgh and graduated from Woodland High School, and walked and skateboarded and went to the Greenburgh Center for summer camp, and my son went to Greenburgh Center for summer camp. My granddaughter is going now to Greenburgh for summer camp. I think we have a responsibility to ourselves and responsibility to young Black children, to make sure that this mural represents who we are, what we are today, and what we will be tomorrow.
I want to thank everybody involved, everybody for agreeing to be on. I kind of had to challenge Mr. Finer on Facebook several times before he agreed to come on. But even though I don't agree with everything he said, he did show up, though. And I think that was important that he did at least show up. There's a few things I have to say. Like, I agree with Damon. I would not like to be in Councilwoman Jackson or Councilman Jones' position at this point, because just like, you're not going to make everybody happy. Whatever happens and this fails, y'all are the two persons of color on the board. Somebody gonna blame y'all. Y'all didn't do enough.
They are already.
Whatever, you're gonna catch the blame. So I just hope y'all do what you can to make this happen. And I hope that and I'm serious, I hope that y'all use this opportunity to do whatever necessary agreements and everything need to be done before paint is put to the other wall.
Exactly.
So because if not, I'm serious, we will be here again right afterwards.
The other wall.
And I want to say, again, I believe taking Farrakhan down is a slippery slope. Again, there are people who were killed by cops there on that wall, and the police don't want that. The police everywhere don't want that kind of stuff up. So at some point they could complain, and then that's an issue. And there's other things that can be complained about, and I'm not putting it out there because I'm not doing the white press work for them. But I can say a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? I can bring up something about a whole lot of people that's on that wall. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, we're not going to please everybody. Even if everybody agrees to this point, later on in 10 years, someone will be complaining about somebody that's on that wall again. You know what I'm saying? And we have a history of our history being whitewashed. We're in our school districts right now, they're trying to whitewash our history. They're removing books about the biography of Martin Luther King, and he's supposed to be the safe one. You know what I'm saying? They're removing his books out of certain libraries in Florida and Texas and another state. We got to do what we got to do. And it's again, for y'all that are in Greenburgh, a lot of us on the outside looking in, but y'all gonna have to do the work. Y'all gonna have to make it happen. Y'all gonna have to do whatever, come to whatever agreement, do whatever to make it happen. Again, like Damon said, history has its eyes on you. The world has its eyes on you. I said in the beginning, the sign itself, all lives cannot matter until Black Lives Matter, was the boldest statement made in this county by any municipality. Other people painted on the letters Black Lives Matter on the street. In Yonkers, me and Bob just passed there 3 times in the last 2 weeks. You can barely see it on the ground no more. It's faded. You know what I'm saying? This is, no other municipality has, this is the boldest expression of Blackness and Black history and black protests, and however you want to define it, in any municipality in Westchester County. So y'all getting it right. It depends on whether some other municipality is going to be able to do this. You know what I'm saying? It not coming down is gonna have some decisions on some other municipality saying no, we're not going to do that. You know, this is like, you know, being the first. You know, it's a lot on your shoulders. Being the only one. Damon and I are the only real black vocal members of the press that speak on certain issues. You're not gonna please everybody. Everybody has something to say on how we should do it, and I wish y'all the best. I hope that this starts a conversation. This is not the end of a conversation. There was so much more that could be said and needed to be said. There were so many questions that could have been asked that didn't get a chance to ask. So I hope this is the beginning of a conversation. I brought Lane involved because I hope that this is the beginning of some healing in this situation, because that is very necessary, or it's going to be a controversial mess that's going to divide so far that it's going to be ugly, and it's going to be played out on the national stage. They are talking about this in Chicago. Brother Cliff, Brother Damon, and myself have been asked to, as soon as we get off here, talk to a Philadelphia radio station about this. You know what I'm saying? So there's a black radio show in Philadelphia that's going to be talking. We're going to be continuing this conversation. The people are watching. There's people in North Carolina and Atlanta. They're watching what's going on here. So I don't know what else to say other than, I hope we get it right. I hope we get this one right. I hope Black Westchester help make that possible. Thank you all who were involved. Also, everyone check out the Black Westchester Power Hour. I guess Damon and I will be talking about this tomorrow on WVOX between 11 a.m. and 12 noon. So I'm sure we'll be talking a little bit more about this. So tune in 1460 a.m. or WVOX.com, or you can catch it on the TuneIn app or their website, or several other ways to find it. I'm sure I'll get the audio and I'll put it on Black Westchester. This will also be on Black Westchester within the next 24 hours, and everybody can share it, and hopefully the conversation will continue, and there'll be people who comment in the comment section, and we can continue moving forward. Everybody, thank you. To the audience, you could be doing anything else, but you decide to ride with us, and we greatly appreciate it. This has been Black Westchester Presents, the People Before Politics radio show. We are on every Sunday, 6 to 8, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Giving you the real talk for the community since 2014. This is our 8-year anniversary. Until next week, peace. We will be dealing with adoptions and foster children and that whole system, from people that have been in the system, people that are now helping other people that are in the system, and we're going to be tackling that whole thing next week from a few different angles. So make sure y'all tune in next week. Until then, peace.